Hi, everybody. I'm K-Libra, and this time it's my show, and I brought on my guest for this week's earhole treatment. With me today, I have HoneyBear.
What's up?
Say hello, HoneyBear. Yeah, thank you. Pessimist.
Hello.
And I have... I don't know which name you want me to pick, actually.
I'm known as TigerTwins, but everybody just calls me Steph, so just call me Steph.
Okay, that'll be good. So, I am very close with all of them. The nepotism will reek here. But really, the biggest point is that I'm very comfortable speaking with them. We've all had a lot of conversations about transformation stuff. And, I feel like all their perspectives are something I really, really value. And I was very glad to be able to have all of them come onto the show and offer at least a few slices of it. Because, we all got really absorbed into this in a way that we never expected to. Don't you all agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, when it comes to our experience with the fandom as well, it's all varied rather greatly. We do have a lot of people talking about positive encounters with the fandom. I have definitely had mine. It just seems like there are aspects that are looked over. And, I think they are still worth talking about. And not so much in the interest to, I guess, deflate anything good, but mostly to make sure that there is awareness. And also, I don't know, maybe we could bring in something really nice. Maybe other people also have similar interests and feel like, maybe it doesn't fit with all this, and you actually just want a little bit of motivation. You want people to share the same wavelengths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, let's start with you, Steph. Tell me about it, because you got into this, but not the same way everybody else did, right?
Yeah. My first experience, or any kind of, exposure to transformation, it wasn't even, TF as I know it today. It's we had things like Aya Bray in Parasite Eve, and she would transform into a beast, and then you'd have Tara Branford and she'd turn into a beast, and it was like, oh, this is really cool. And I didn't really think of it in any other way other than that. Only when I got older did I get exposed to it being more of something that could be considered kinky. For me, TF was more about empowering myself and wanting to be this cool mystical beast. I mean, who doesn't want to turn into a unicorn, as per The Last Unicorn, if anybody watched that?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
How would you want to turn into the other kind of unicorn now?
Yeah.
When you want to be a bird.
Yeah, I want to definitely be a mecha. Why not turn into a mecha bird? It'd be fucking tight. There is so much TF that is just there that you don't really realize until you're older. I think in a previous podcast episode, Zil talked about Animorphs, and that was a big thing for people around my age. If you're in your 30s, and you probably know about it. I'm trying to think of other media that had it, but it was a prevailing theme in books and things that I read. So
yeah.
I think I differ from a lot of previous interviewees in that when I looked at it, it wasn't, oh, that is really cool and kind of hot. For me, it was just, holy shit, I would like to be this person turning into the cool thing. So
it seems at least a little bit relatable, I could assume. But yeah, you came at it from a different everybody came at it from a different angle. So Bear, what about you? Tell us about your angle. How, you're into this now the way you are.
I'm going to have to give the eye-rolly explanation that I fucking got into it because of werewolves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Werewolves in media was the coolest stuff, and it just always attracted my attention. And it was 100% about the, unbridled power that something like this could have. And then on top of that, it can be hidden away
It sounds to me like the prospect of being able to just kind of switch modes was really cool because, nobody can see, what's lying beneath sort of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the same thing with a lot of the characters that I cited before, because Aya looks like a human being until she looks like a really cool blue alien, and Terra looks like a normal girl until she becomes a white fuzzy beast of the player's interpretation. So yeah, I totally get that. What kind of werewolf media did you see? Because I've been trying to think of something and I can't.
Oh, like, obviously, big cringe. Van Helsing is like a big one. The werewolf isn't even the main focus, but it was just done so well that it really stood out to me. What else was there? Werewolf in London?
Oh, yeah.
I only saw snippets of that.
So yeah, it was werewolves for you, got you into it. Pez, and what about you? I don't mind, I prefer either a lie or the truth.
If I have to make it a lie, I have to make it funny. I have to make it really funny. Oh, I can't be that creative right now. Oh god.
But it's okay.
The real truth is that TF was always just kind of a kink for me. I got into it pretty young, probably a little too young for like most people. I think in a lot of ways that was kind of bad for me, but there are certain ways where like, I think for me, it was more just about like kind of fucking signs, Like, is anyone fucking surprised that like a trans woman is like super into TFTG, like, and male to female specifically? Like, is that really a fucking surprise? No. But as far as other things go, there are like other things like, well, CTF that I've been into, but that has also been more just like a general kink thing, just like focus on sensation. Like, that's more just been my deal, just like sensation is king here.
That makes sense to me. And that's the kind of thing that I interpreted it as a lot too, because I know they don't mean it, but at least half the time when they're changing us, like, it's moany and growly, and my brain with the hormones just took it that way, and it's true for me now. So it's easy to imagine how just a bunch of people, suckers like me, can fall into it that way.
Oh no, definitely. But also, let's not fucking kid ourselves. There's a lot of people in the media who are directly like fetishizing like transformation. Let's not fucking kid ourselves, okay? Like I think I saw on Twitter recently, like it was a Trevor Henderson retweet that was talking about cat people, and in the description, like the guy was talking about like how it is 200% the horniest movie they've ever seen.
Oh my god, it's like the horny. God damn, it was so shameless when I watched it, and tons of incest.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, didn't I make this clear the last time we had TFCon? The fucking movie, we were watching it, and I had no idea that the two characters is, of course, there's the woman who you're just waiting to see turn into a panther, and then there's the other one who's kind of like terrorizing people, killing women, lots of prostitutes mostly, but that's because he's one of those beings who, like, if you have sex with someone that isn't of your own ilk, you turn into a panther and you murder them. And then, you find out that, not you find out, but it's made very clear. It's just the main character, the lady, is going to visit her brother, who is like her, and they're the only ones that can, like, be with each other.
Okay.
So they can only fuck each other if they don't want to kill anyone. Otherwise, they'll kill the people they love. And I'm like, oh my god.
Why is this a thing?
He was...
That director... He's into some freak shit,
I mean...
Bitch, he fucking casted the creepiest motherfucker to be that guy. He was so unwholesome. His performance just is so uncomfortable. The expressions that he wears, everything about him.
And this was supposed to be like the horniest movie?
No, let me explain something else. There was plenty of plenty of like sexuality to be found outside of that. It was just like you couldn't ignore the pursuit of her, right? And then for like half the movie, he's long gone. He dies.
Oh shit! Spoiler alert.
And yeah, he dies. Whatever, you should watch the movie. It can be like a fever dream at times, but it was something like she was in a nightgown or something for like 40% of the movie. She was just on display most of the time. If you want to talk about sexualization, that actress just was. It was pretty much softcore porn, like attempting to be almost. It felt.
Just as an aside, are you aware of the male Werepanthers actor Malcolm McDowell? Are you aware of his previous role before Cat People?
I don't think so. I know we were talking about how Malcolm McDowell was just like inherently fucking creepy, and how perfect he was to just make it really awful.
So the movie that he starred in before was Clockwork Orange, which, as we all know, has many rape scenes in it. And you telling me this brings it's literally not a surprise to me that he's in this movie doing exactly this thing, looking as creepy as he is,
If you watch Cat People now, I think you'll be at least entertained with how uniquely horny the movie is, and also very uncomfortable. and also really dumb. Of course, it's going to be pretty fucking dumb. You'll also see one of the worst zoos ever. That definitely looks like a humanitarian crisis, that zoo.
Oh.
It's the fucking worst. I think, Cameron wasn't there to watch it with us that night. He came like the night after, but we were just like, man, we wanted you to see the zoo because I knew it was shitty, and I wanted to hear exactly why you thought it was shitty.
The biggest tragedy in the whole movie.
It was, but it was really good when we were watching The Fly, and I think it was a mandrill. I think in the movie they called it like a baboon or something like that. But he out loud was just like, "Oh look, a mandrill," and they didn't call it that. And I'm just like, "Oh boy!" And then he picks it up, Jeff Goldblum, and then he's like, "No, don't touch that. They have diseases." I'm like, I love having you around for shit just like this. It's great. So also, I think it's relevant because we talked about a lot of this stuff too when it comes to like sexualization and transformation, and oh boy, we're all caught up in that, and all of our experiences with that vary greatly. A lot of my horniness and what I like can be, just kind of looked at, and at least you can get a general idea of stuff I like, but that's just me, and I think explaining it still goes a long way. When other people also are doing that kind of art, I think it can also lead to a lot of assumptions, and it's important to consider what people's experiences with that sort of stuff is too, because it's a very heavily sexualized fan base, and all of us have some stuff to say about it too. So how about you, Steph? I'll have you start.
What's funny is that usually when it comes to transformation, my default mode is not sexy times. I remember a long time ago, you and I did an art trade, and I asked you to draw a little girl turning into a tiger because I thought it was cute, the idea of this little girl being like angry or pouting, and then, her going from meh to meow, just being a little angry cat. And that actually did spur a lot of conversation that I was surprised about. There was a lot of talk that it's inappropriate to have any kind of minor in this kind of situation because that it was inherently sexual. That was so foreign and weird to me because, like you mentioned earlier, that people, when they transform, they're moany, it's kind of sexy or whatever, but all of the transformations that I had seen were either like very smooth, no panting or moaning or spine cracking or anything. It was just very natural, like it was part of them. So I guess that also formed my opinion on it being just part of your being and not really sexual at all.
Yeah.
It became more and more obvious to me that certain TFs are more sexualized than others, which is kind of weird to say out loud, but if you think about it, a lot of farm animal TF is really sexualized. It's like, it has a lot to do with punishing you. It's like, oh, you're a cow now. You're a lady cow, and you're going to be, punished for being a slutty lady cow.
Oh my
You got
God.
big tits? Prepare to be cow.
Yeah, exactly. And as a woman with large breasts IRL, that's a very upsetting thing to go through, because just having big breasts makes it that everybody says things like, oh, you're a slut because you have big boobs. Like, I mean, that was told to me in middle school, and it's like, this is just part of me. There's nothing inherently sexual about this. I just woke up and they were there, my dude. They don't have immediate horny powers that I'm aware of. So it's distressing because it could be used as so much more than just become horse, and because you have horse dong, you want fuck.
Yeah, it could be. And just also, people are aware, well, basically not people, but only you all who can actually see it. That is the piece in question.
Oh my God, that's fucking adorable.
Yeah, I drew that a long time ago.
Yeah, see, so the image that we're looking at right now is the one that we were talking about, the art trade, where you have this little girl turning into a tiger. And I love stuff like that. There's just something so cute about having childlike and animal-like qualities kind of like be in the same kind of body. And it's just, I feel strange a little bit talking about it now because of the sexual connotation that TF has taken on in my mind, and basically in the surrounding, like, just the fandom in general. So it's like, for me to even mention an underage character doing something like that feels icky, but it really shouldn't, because it's not inherently sexual,
Yeah, and I agree with that. Even though I mentioned, like, that they get moany and stuff, that's why I said, like, most of the time, or at least half of the time. And it's also because, that stuff shows up in, like, horror media or something like that, where anything that's adult can be expressed. So that would be the reason why even I would have the remote implication of that sort of thing in my head. But it's, as you said, it shouldn't have to be a sort of default. And I see how it's affected you, Steph. So, Pez, how does it affect, I don't know, how does, like, sexuality and how things are sexualized, like, affect you or fit in with you, with your experience so far?
I can't really say it's been much of, like, anything for me. I just kind of thought it was what it was for the most part. I mean, like, I know that there are a lot of instances where there's, like, you have media where, like, children's cartoon people, like, point to Pinocchio, and it's like, oh, the donkey TF or something like that. And I feel like there's a difference between, like, where the sexuality is versus, like, in something that's intimate, that you can tell, like the director wanted you to focus on it and, like, almost experience it in, like, a very, like, intimate way, versus something like Turning Red, where it's just like, oh, she has a tail now, that's one thing. I think for me, it's just been, like, the constant exposure of, like, being in the TF community, just, like, people want the intimate experience, not so much, like, everything else. But there are a lot of people who also like the more just general, like, kind of theme of it. Why there's, like, kind of a focus on it for them, I'm not really sure. But really, as a kink, I think it was just kind of, like, part of, like, the idea of having that, like, experience,
But how do you feel like other people's perceptions have have affected your experience, because even though I came at it with the stuff that I wanted, I started to get a feel for certain people's attitudes towards the stuff that I like, and I was surprised or disappointed and things like that. So you came at it with a kink aspect on your end. So as you were participating more and getting attention and getting noticed, all that stuff, and just looking for content, how did that go over with you?
Well, I think it went to my detriment, if I'm going to be honest. I found that there are quite a lot of tropes that I enjoy that a lot of other people enjoy for very, very different reasons. Mainly, TFTG, for example, is a very, popular kind of niche within like, the TF community. Like, probably more popular than, TF itself, just considering, how often you see it, outside of, circles of just, random guys turning into anime girls or something like that. But I think that for me, I found that I shared, even though, I've found that, my interest in it stemmed from a lot of, feelings of gender dysphoria, much like a lot of, the trans girls who follow me, I assume. I find that, a lot of, my favorite parts of TFTG, I share a lot with, some pretty sexist corners of the internet. I think this is especially the case with, certain things like bimbofication. That's not something I'm, particularly interested, but, it uses a lot of parts, and there's also tropes of, you become a girl, you're, immediately horny, and you want to just fuck anything that moves. And I also, unfortunately, like that. But that is also, just... I'm super aware that it's also just, a really kind of not good stereotype of, women, because that's just kind of how, they want women to be. And it makes me feel kind of guilty for having to share the same kind of, interests as a lot of people. It makes me kind of question my own shit quite a lot. And I think it makes me more judgmental of other people as well. Just on the basis of, I'm not aware of, the reasons that, people are into this thing. But I do know that there is a large swath of people who are into it for, pretty bad reasons, I think.
Okay. That's definitely something that I would want to come back to. I just want to also get Bear's perspective on their experience with the fandom so far, and how it's what has it been like? Pretty much same question to you of you've been sharing your content, why you like it. What have you found, and what has it brought to you?
I will say, coming into the fandom, I feel like I was walking into it with a different mindset than what I was introduced with, I guess. Because, I'm going yeah, I like monsters, and I like this idea of being able to be powerful and experience these crazy things. And the first thing that I run into is just straight up girl horny, TF equal orgasm, essentially. And I really feel like that's overlooking the other sensations that you can enjoy, not even on a sexual level. I keep coming back to it, but power is, especially for women, it's hard to come by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely, if you don't mind me piping in here, Bear, if you try to Google, like I did before this, if you try to Google female leads who can do that kind of thing, it's who can just transform or be werewolves or anything. The list is pretty small.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got there was from Being Human in the US version, we had Nora as the lady werewolf. Ripley from Alien, when she became merged with the alien queen, that. I mean, does that count as TF? I mean,
it counts.
So, I mean, there's that, but I mean, there's Cassie and Rachel from Animorphs that are kind of like, yeah, these are powerful women who use their abilities and they're kicking out, especially Rachel. I think that's why, like, most of the people that I've spoken to about Animorphs was like, fucking Rachel is wife. You know? Because...
Would they really start to care if they find out that it turns into a guy lion?
I mean, it's TFTG.
Yeah, and that went over my head for a long time, too. Where I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And I'm not going to cheat and be like, well, some lionesses grow manes, too. Sure,
so
shut up.
Chickens, actually, some hens can grow spurs on their heels and combs on their heads. It doesn't mean that they're any more male than other chickens, other hens.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the sense that it's interesting because I think we all have a bit of an appreciation for how it can be like, yeah, sexy good time, but it's definitely troublesome because even if you go into it with that mindset, you're kind of like, I don't know why I don't exactly feel comfortable expressing this here sometimes.
I think that's just because women displaying any kind of horniness or sexuality is usually an invitation for other people to comment on said horniness or sexuality.
Oh my fucking god.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're just like, oh my god, that's hot, then a guy will immediately like just be like, well, time to get my dick sucked.
Surely they're interested in mine.
Where it's like, instead of being able to just vocally express your appreciation for something, no, horny now. Women horny now, men horny now.
Well, okay, that's what the brain does. What I would like others to do is to not, like, immediately solicit right after the fact.
Impossible.
It's like, you know, the ready nethers are not an open invitation to everybody. Motherfuckers just need to figure out that first they gotta be invited.
You know, that's something that there was a mention. I don't know if this was in a former episode of the podcast or if this was just in a conversation, but they were likening TF to BDSM. And when you're in the BDSM community, if you go to any kind of party or if you are interacting with anybody like that, the general rule of thumb is if it isn't a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I would like that to be applied in this kind of scenario, but this is the internet, and I don't think that that kind of etiquette is something that could be communicated effectively to stop people from weirdly horny posting and making women uncomfortable. But, I mean, I wish it was.
I definitely feel like we should have that expectation for these people. Like, I understand that it's a hard concept for people to grasp, but hey, there are people behind these pieces of art and these accounts and shit. And maybe because they posted something horny doesn't necessarily mean they're asking for, like, that kind of specific attention.
Yeah, it's like, it's me showing something that is horny art is not me, you know, typing you up text to someone, you know, you up, you down, you know.
Who's gonna come fuck this?
I found this in my inbox. I think I'm ready for you.
Who's gonna come fuck this moose pussy?
Exactly.
Fucking pussy. Okay.
Wait.
Listen,
yeah.
Y'all might be fucking talking about pipe dreams, really, because we're talking about people who literally, like, look at 2D drawings and talk to them like they're real people. Like,
oh
literally,
God.
I see these motherfuckers in the comments. They will just, they just go like, oh, I want you so bad, or something like that. I want to fuck your, like, fucking pussy, or something like that.
Can you imagine? Like, listen, I can understand. Like, there's been art that has made me be like, put my hand over my mouth and just be like, well. But I have never prayed at the altar of the comment section for dickening. I have never done that.
The altar of the comments section. I love it. All of you go leave your prayers at the altar of our comments section and tell us your thoughts. Make sure you do that. That way we have more shit to talk about.
If you're a lady who has been listening to this and you didn't want to out yourself because of being weirdly uncomfortable for some of the reasons we're talking about now, tell us the weirdest horny thing that someone has said to you online.
And we're talking about all kinds of ladies in the spectrums, okay? Non-enbies too, who can relate to this. Absolutely welcome to it, you know? I also would like to I'd also like to touch on this point because you said, mentioned like not many women. Really don't want to ignore this. There aren't a lot of girls into it. So I would like to say that can't be fucking true. All right?
It could be plenty true.
It could be true, but I think it's an assertion made because it's just like, well, where are they all like not comfortable being here?
Yes, because like we were talking about before, if I bogart this too much, just interrupt me.
Everybody gets to talk, and I will tell all of you when to shut up and who gets to talk.
All hair.
All hair.
All hair.
All hair.
So, the thing is that there are some prominent women in this community, which I thought was really interesting. But they are very few. I can only name like maybe 5 off the top of my head. I can think of Aranya. I could think of Angraboda. Oh my lord. Altair,
okay.
I believe, was one.
Altair TF was around for a while.
There was now. Stiletto Pink, but Stiletto Pink vanished.
Stiletto Pink used to be the, I don't remember the name that she took, so I guess we'll go with Stiletto. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. There's Sabretooth Ermine. I don't know if she's really like doing the transformation stuff anymore.
No.
I don't know her screen name, but she had the dragon.
Wait, dragon? That brings up a few people, actually. I think Red Equinox is right?
I don't know.
I think. I don't know either. Hey, Red, if you want to talk or something like that, platform's open to you. You made a lot of
Red or is it Rex?
Red Equinox.
Okay.
Like the color.
Okay.
But yeah, as you were saying, because like feeling comfortable enough to express yourself and identify how you want to in the community can be kind of tough, apparently. But don't take my word for it.
I'll go with my thing first, and then you guys can follow up. But I mean, just being a woman on the internet is something that is uncomfortable most of the time. There have been situations where I have gone into a forum and I have immediately felt, I am not welcome here because I am a woman. I should probably leave. Just from viewpoints being expressed or just like, whatever. In online gaming, I game, every time I would ever use voice for like a FPS, I would get derogatory gendered remarks, which was very fucking annoying. And it's made it so that whenever I do play any online game, be it a mobile game now, because I'm playing weird mobile games, or any other kind of like RPG or anything where I present as a gender, I usually, I will pick a woman sometimes, but I also don't like the attention that brings, so I will also use male avatars instead, just so that I can dissuade people from commenting or being weird.
Mm-hmm. And that is very fucked up, since there's no reason you should have to avoid wanting to express yourself how you like.
It's pretty much the same on my end. Video games, I largely kept my gender hidden. You don't go on microphones. Yeah, you gotta have male avatars sometimes, because it's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the case of, when I first joined FA, I made it a thing that I wasn't going to put my gender down anywhere. Because I don't want that negative attention. And I'm still worried about that even though, like, I'm a non-binary person, I am an AFAB, and I don't know, like, I feel like all the rules go out the window as soon as people hear that.
Well, hear what exactly?
There's an AFAB in this community.
Yeah. They got something I want.
None of these experiences apply to me because I am a AMAB person who only like found herself in the position of being a trans woman fully until recently. So for the most part, I've been having the luxury of being able to hide behind a deep voice and a male presenting facade. The worst thing that people could call me was autistic and not, a woman. No one would ever fucking tell me, make me a sandwich.
Oh God.
Or anything
Fuck.
like that.
The flashbacks.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Pez, I just want to say, and I mean this with all my heart, I hope you never develop or accrue any stories. I really hope you don't.
It's gonna happen.
I'm really sorry.
It's
but,
gonna happen.
Speaking from experience, it really, as soon as you present as a woman, it happened to my little sister the minute that she, hit puberty, the minute that she took any kind of not square-looking shape, people make disgusting comments. It's just something that happens. I remember the first time that I was inappropriately groped was when I was in my early teens. That's usually around the time. And Pez, when you are presenting more and more as female, I do want you to be more careful and to protect yourself, because there is a reason why I tell my little sister every time we part ways to call me when she gets home. And I will start doing the same shit to you.
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I already have things to say just in case, someone tries to be weird on, comms, in a voice chat.
Good.
Don't worry.
And just to bring this back around, these are the kind of things that you get echoes of, if not similar occurrences within, the whole transformation community and fandoms. Right?
In the TF community, thankfully, I haven't gotten any kind of long declarations of weird in my inbox. There's been a few very uncomfortable interactions, but it's not always sexual in terms of an uncomfortable interaction. Sometimes just because you're a lady, people will think that you're there to listen to their problems, and I do not mind talking about personal issues. I like making friends, but it's not the default thing that I'm programmed to do upon first meeting. I am not here, I have my own stuff, and I am not here to, help you emotionally, especially if we've just met.
Makes sense to me. And I suppose that's, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just the kind of thing that also makes it uncomfortable to want to come out and present as anything remotely feminine, because that's you run the risk of those kind of I can't find the term that I really want, but it's just like the inappropriate openness that people will just throw out on you. They'll just give you these incredibly personal pieces of information about themselves, and it's like, wow, this is deeply uncomfortable. And it's happened to me, but
just like saying, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, it's happened to me, but I've known Steph for a very long time, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe how many people do that to you. It's happened to me a bit, but it happens to you way more.
It happens also a lot. I'm not going to speak for her because she's not here, but I am close friends with Katana, and Katana has told me on more than one occasion about very uncomfortable interactions she has had as being a very visible female member of the TF community with people who have thought that they were soulmates with Katana just because of a post, of a photo And that is deeply uncomfortable stuff.
Yeah, that is.
I think a lot of this has to do with like a very parasocial kind of phenomenon that happens, like especially in like male dominated spaces. I thought I was talking about this earlier with Ern, and
I'm Ern, by the way.
And it was about like how Twitch has a thing where you have a bunch of like women who get to like be in the fucking like Twitch stream and they're doing their thing, and a lot of people give them shit because they have like mod bias or whatever. They get off easier on offenses than men, and they get a lot of shit for that. But despite that, like, I don't think even the largest Twitch streamer is even close to like being as popular as like someone like XQC or something like that. And not to mention that like a lot of the women who like, I'm sure they appreciate getting off easy on offenses, but I don't think they asked for it. But people get mad at them because it's like a whole thing. And this relates back to the TF thing, because I think it's kind of the same thing, like that, like there's a whole bunch of people who are kind of like convinced that like by like presenting yourself in a way that's like kind of sexual or kind of like vulnerable, it suddenly means you're friends.
All right, so yeah, emotional labor is just something that it's just one of the uncomfortable things that happens a bit more to female presenting or like, you know, female adjacent sort of people. And it sucks because, you know, if you want to talk about things like diversity or anything like that, and, you know, I've heard, okay, a bit of my experiences are, you know, noticing people talking about how like, oh, I wish I could find like a girl who was into TF as well. And it's like, that's great. And I've been very lucky to find somebody who shares that wavelength with me. At the same time, I never looked for it. I never actually looked for it. And the more interesting thing is, I'll keep saying it, you express yourself to people, and sometimes they find their own liking in it, and you come to share an interest that way. And it just sort of makes me feel like, hey, you know, there probably are. You just kind of are in a space where they don't really want to be seen.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. There is a lot of friendly, nice people in this fandom. I'm not trying to imply that everybody is a creep. It's just, unfortunately, the experiences, there's a lot more uncomfortable or negative experiences than positive. There are a few people that I have met through being a commission artist in this particular fandom that I consider really good friends. Like, I met you, Pez, through this, and you are my little nugget. Zill I met through this too, because I don't think I would have met Zill if I hadn't been exposed to this. There's Dragonstorm, who I consider a very good friend of mine, and he's been doing TF forever, I think.
Very long time. Now we got Bear too, because
yes, of course.
Yeah, let me equalize this a little bit. And I'm glad that you started doing it, Steph, because yeah, there's been plenty of good to come out of it. It's just worth talking about all the aspects of the community if you're going to talk about it. But yeah, definitely great stuff. Bear is wonderful, and you're all going to get to shout out your stuff at the end of the episode as you're supposed to, because they should all be checked out. And like, holy shit, I'm just really lucky to be associated with all of you. Yeah, seriously, it's great. The best thing I can say is that despite these problems, all of you have persevered and bothered to end up talking to me somehow, especially with the shit that I make. I know you're all used to it by now, but
weird.
that's part of my
with all due respect,
the awareness I have.
With all due respect, bitch, I encouraged you to make that weird shit, so can you please be quiet?
Yeah.
Thank you. I do want to bring up something really quick that has been on my mind lately, and I wanted to know if you guys asked this of my fellow guests here, because it was brought up to me, and I just want your thoughts. Do you feel like it's harder to gain recognition as a woman artist in this?
Yes.
I mean, statistically speaking, yeah. I think that's just like in general, like just how the trends of things go.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that one of the things I do notice is that Pez, you only recently started on your journey or whatever, so you were presenting as male for a majority of your commission career, artistic career. And,
yeah, pretty much.
And I can't help but think about how the most popular piece in my gallery was a collaboration between the both of us. And we did a collab with Egg Laying, and I think about that a lot. I think about how your growth and your numbers, not that numbers are particularly important to me. I'm not here to, to check the algorithm, but it is noticeable that a lot of the up there artists are usually men. Like, I mean, when you think of great TF artists, I think the first name that everybody would say would probably be Griff, right?
Less people than you may think.
Less people that, yeah, honestly,
really?
like, not many people anymore.
Well,
yeah.
Then whom?
Lobo Leo.
Oh,
Watt.
Lobo Leo, yes.
Yeah, Watt.
Lobo Leo. What's up?
Mm-hmm.
Does Fast Track count? Fast Track does
Fast Track
transformation.
Still does stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, but like we're talking about like transformation. If Fast Track would be put into that, or if that's just okay.
Yeah,
so you got like Fast Track.
Does.
I'm just trying to think of the other ones too.
Guess it also goes down to like, cause there are a lot of like really, really popular ones who are women, like Angerboda and Aranya and stuff like that. I mean, but that's also partially because they're OGs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Or like Aranya has been around since, oh god, it's been what, over like 15 years?
20 years, maybe.
Jesus Christ, feeling my age.
I think we could substantiate it with time, but I think it's a pretty safe claim to make. They really are like by far like the biggest ones, and it seems weird, but until I start thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense as to why it's actually not weird and just probably kind of fucked up.
Very briefly, Mish was also like a TF artist for like a very brief period of time.
That's right. And then they also come and go. It's a little tough to also determine who is big because not everybody produces at the same rate or even,
I guess just for like the sake of like simplicity, we could just say that like you got your following from like the TF community. And you generally stayed in that niche. I mean, I guess like the TF community is also so big that like there's also just like a lot of like little niches that go within it. So you also have like people like Mott who are also like pretty big. I don't know what gender they go by, but yeah, there's a lot of male representation, at least in the art TF community.
Oh yeah, Neagle. Neagle is huge.
Oh, Neagle, yeah.
Yeah, Neagle is very, very huge. And just because, like, Bear, why do you feel that it's just easier for, like, male presenting to just get that recognition more easily?
Because they have the fucking male gaze. What dudes find attractive or, like, enticing isn't the same as AFABs, I feel like. Like, when I want to do just, like, straight-up sensual stuff, it doesn't get the same attraction as if I, draw some tits being whipped out or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me. It's the funny thing, because it's a little gay, isn't it? Who can please men better than men? But I'm definitely not gay.
That does make me think about a couple of times where I've uploaded things that I would particularly find attractive that weren't, like, just overt, like, penis and vagina sex or appendage and place sex. That did not do very well at all. It's just the kind of thing where if you're a commissioned artist and you want to make sure that you're actually hired for work, you will do things that maybe you do not find personally appealing, or even things that you might really enjoy. I think you have a lot of experience with that, Pest. You want to be hired to do work, so.
Well, yeah, I think that's the case for every artist. Unfortunately, like that just kind of has to like that's just kind of how you have to play the game if you want to like at least make this somewhat a full-time job.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You don't think so?
I mean, Kay, do you feel like you have to like alter what you do in order to get attention on any of your work?
I don't think so, but that's because I've become increasingly selfish with my work. And it's because it's because I altered things and submitted myself to certain kinds of content and ideas that made me just really unhappy to work on. I felt like, fine, you get really excited or inspired by something that I did for me, then I think you should afford me the trust to take the idea that you want to see me do and do it my way, to not guide it with how necessarily you want to see it, but to allow me to do with it what I think is appropriate. And it's because I've had to do those kind of things in the past that I don't do it now. I guess the answer is yes and no. It's a thing I don't do now, but I definitely did.
I mean, I honestly think that's like the end goal for like every artist in this community. You want to be able to put out what actually entices you, as opposed to like just trying to get recognized.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, at first I really just wanted to be liked because I wanted to feel important, at least a little bit, or at least be noticed by people that I liked. It's a good feeling, Can't deny it. You have to manage it in a healthy way. But I don't know. I guess in more recent years, I started to notice that that there is a greater appreciation for the way I like things. Still got to get lucky though. And it also helps that, yes, I have male gazy shit too, because I am like that too. What the fuck can I say?
Now you gotta burn in hell.
I will also mention that I do qualify with full-time job. I did live off this job for since 2019 with a very brief period of time where I did work. But after the pandemic, I mostly made my living through commissions.
That's right.
I think in general, just if you want to keep up the output, you're necessarily going to burn yourself out, and you're not going to even be able to do the things that you want to do. And even if you really, really want to do it, and that is probably the worst part for me. But I think I'm still grateful that I was able to even have the opportunity to do this. But I do know that in a way you're not I don't feel like I'm making art anymore. I feel like I'm I don't know, sandwich making a little bit. I'm kind of working at I'm kind of customizing something to every which way. And I should amend my statement. I am definitely still making art. People appreciate it, and I feel like I don't want to put myself down a little too much, but I definitely know that I have to sacrifice certain things or pose things in a certain way that I might not find interesting or that I don't find boring, but also when you're burned out, you don't really think to do much else other than what they ask for. So that's really it.
Yeah. and it gets tough, and it's also part of just, I don't know, belonging in this fucking community and shit, this fandom, because when we're sharing things, let me also be clear about this. When we're making this shit and we're sharing it because we want to, there is something to be appreciated and respected, because it is a personal expression. Nobody asked us to post anything we've done. We just decided that, sure, I want to show people this and maybe see what happens. Maybe somebody likes it. There's always a personal element to it, and it can be good. I just think that the experience should be easier on us, and people can afford to have that kind of perspective. A measured approach. If you're going to do something that may involve you considering it a risk, like putting your foot in your mouth or something, just to be ready to apologize, or at least something like that, and not even that, but just remember that the stuff that people share is still just a fucking like vertical slice at best. It's a vertical slice at best of somebody, and you don't really know what mood they were in when they made that thing, or if they even want to make it again. You got to approach people in that way.
I do want to also bring up really quickly that one of the things I was looking for in this fandom in particular was community. I did not come in here thinking I would be a commission artist. I joined it because I wanted to find like-minded individuals. I do think that it's great to have found said community with a bunch of artists, and I think that would help all of us, really, like all of us in the TF community, if we did kind of communicate more. I mean, I don't know how to say this without it being like, go play with your friends, they like TF too, but meeting other people, reaching out and talking with them has really helped me grow and learn. I'm working on a current small project that I would not be working on right now if I had not met or spoke to HoneyBear. So, yes, you bitch.
Oh.
Yes. I just, despite, I mean, this is a community that has its ups and downs and its caveats, but I will say that it has a lot of really great people to get to know.
And it has potential. It has a lot of potential for people to help each other, and all of you have also facilitated me and the people around me to start to do some really good things for at least a few people. And I'm really happy to say that. I wouldn't be able to say that without all of you. And I think this also is a pretty good segue, because I didn't want to miss this, because I know it's been spoken of, but I wanted the perspective from all you, because empowerment is a theme, and it got briefly touched on, of course, with like the things that you get into, but I think all of us share like this attraction to power. And I mean that in like a number of ways, not just like sexual attraction, but it is an attraction to power. We really admire it, and we want some of it for ourselves in our own ways, and to express that kind of power. And also just empowerment and transformation. I feel like it doesn't get discussed in a way that I find very satisfying. So I would like your views, because I know that empowerment is something that we all appreciate, whether for ourselves or to see come out of others from this.
I love the idea of being this mythical beast. I want to be something that is connected to the might and magic of the world itself. I think that women in general have always been kind of portrayed in that way, where we are connected to the more mystical or magical kind of parts of the world. And I think it's just something that, for me, it just made sense. Like when Aya Bray was, when it was like, oh, this is the ultimate being, and you're, part of, you are clearly this representative of humanity's ultimate badassery. It was like, yeah, this makes sense that this is a lady, because, there were a lot of themes about death, rebirth, and just birth in that game. And I personally just really, really, really vibe with that. Witchy women are the love of my life.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
And from what I know that you also, you talk about, the more abstract things like, mythic power and, sort of, just something kind of nebulous. But I know you like a visual, like physical ferocity too.
Yeah, I love the idea of combining the elegant and the fierce. There's just something to be said about something that can be elegant and powerful at the same time. And I think that's why I have a fascination with kind of like a big cat kind of silhouette. That's why, my name is TigerTwins because of personal astrological reasons, but as I've grown older, I have really fallen in love with the way that cats, specifically big cats, can be graceful and beautiful and seemingly delicate, but they also have this unbelievably raw power. Deer are also a very good example of that. Deer, you would think are just like, oh, it's fucking deer, they can't do shit, but if you get hit by a deer hoof, you will be bleeding. You could get your ass kicked by a deer. I guarantee it.
Trampled to death, yeah.
Yeah, you could die. You can. Same thing with cows, by the way. It's always really funny with cow TFs because people are like, oh, look, you're a helpless moo. And I'm like, you realize that is like a couple tons of whoop ass right there, right? You could get fucked by your inability to recognize, but, you can test your assumptions at your own convenience.
Fun shit.
I also just want to say that I do think that's very sexy in a partner sense. Like if you had a werewolf guy or a werewolf woman, whatever you like as a person. I think that display of ferocity and tenderness is one of the most beautiful and intimate things about transformation itself. It's the conflict between will and desire. And I think that can be explored in so many ways other than just sexually. I think that it's so much more enticing when you really kind of draw that out. It makes...
When you make those things intertwined.
Yeah.
Not so much like, this is a thing that I like to see, and now I get to fuck with it.
Immediate penis right there, inside of the part.
An immediate penis, fucking swollen pussy.
Just massive titties, just like the size of a continent.
Now you could have those things, but it wouldn't be as fun if you didn't express the continental aspects to mix into that. Then you got something more fun, yeah? Mm-hmm. There's the power of the earth itself. Just fucking reminded myself of Dr. Robotnik when he would always end off all the Chaos Emeralds from the Adventure Sonic the Hedgehog show, and he would always say, the power of life itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was one of the powers that the Chaos Emerald would grant. But yeah, I am so into that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that.
Yeah. It's almost like I've known you for over a decade or something.
2 decades. And you other two, I've spoken to you a lot about that, so all of you can just snicker to yourselves about how fucking obvious that is.
What? You mean that we're not supposed to know that you think it's hot when fucking most of your TFs are, here's a giant leopard snake lady who could crush you to death, being like, please fuck me before I become this most outrageously powerful beast. What do you mean?
I'm so glad she won't kill me.
One last thing, and then I swear to God, everybody else could go. That is really a aspect of TF that I love. When you have a big, fearsome beast, and you have the wee little human. It could be male, it could be female, I don't care. But when you have a really big with a really small, I fucking love that shit. I think that's one of the best parts about TF, because it's like, look, you could be eaten by this, but it loves you. Isn't that nice?
That's what I like about transformation too. You can say, oh yes, what if this situation, but then you made the situation you like to happen because yes. Mm-hmm. Just yes. Okay, what about you, Bear? Empowerment. People will see that you are a skull-faced badass, and
yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
That's a fucking big question to ask. I don't know. I like the idea of being like a protector of sorts.
Same.
Well, isn't it interesting that like women tend to go for that too?
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. I think that's the same for Katana as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Guardian, yeah, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're all guardians.
And adding to what you were saying before, like the idea that like something has the ability to destroy you at a moment's notice, but chooses not to because you're just so fucking special is also really nice.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's not that it's completely gone, blah, blah, blah. Don't fucking tell me I know it's there, but it's so incredibly absent to me that there isn't more of a kind of tenderness like that. When you got, like, monsters, like, running about. And I don't think it comes from a lot of guys either, because male gaze will inherently kind of just put like one submissive over the other. But like, oh, you know who actually has done some of that stuff, and it's as far as I can tell, I'm pretty sure Strawberry TFs is at least AFAB, and has made some stuff where it's just like yeah, there's this one comic where it's a nitress going to rescue a princess, and it's like the way the princess gets rescued is that the nitress becomes the dragon, and that's how they get out. And it's definitely a horny comic, but it's got got all those elements of just like, you will become like my ferocious beast, which I love and take care of, sort of thing. And it's got like the big time horny. It even has a bit of male gaze in it as far as I'm concerned, but it still has all those other elements that prevent it from just being purely objectifying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. You could definitely have porn that isn't just like, it doesn't have to eliminate things that are sexy to men in order for it to be consumable for other people. I'm not trying to say that, oh, this is obviously for guys, throw it right in the bin. But I think that men do like sensuality. It's just that we're kind of exposed from a very early age to, very overt displays of sexuality. So it kind of manifests in us seeking out any kind of sexual content or any kind of expressing ourselves through sexuality, where it's just titties immediately, masturbation immediately, like there's no lead up, even in porn nowadays. I mean, there's no people like make fun of it all the time, where it's like you have your terrible porn story arc where it's like, who ordered this extra large fucking pizza, but it is true. Without context, I know for me personally, without context, it's impossible for me to look at something and be like, hell yeah, that's hot, because otherwise it's just fleshy pieces. That sounds really fucked up, but it's just really just yes.
Well, no, that goes right into what I was saying about it. Something you can be a little male gazy, or at least a little bit like hypersexual here and there. It just has to be it has to be managed in certain ways so that it isn't the only thing. Like, okay, I'll point to you, Pez, and I still want to know, like, if you have any, like, thoughts or feelings on empowerment, but, at least in the very sense of, like, uh, CTF, cock transformation, um, for you, it's a lot less, cum brainy than I think some may imagine.
So the thing about CTF, I think, is not like I said, it's not like a really empowerment thing. I'm not like that like bound to empowerment like as a concept. At least it's not like the first thing that like comes to my mind. I guess subconsciously you could say it does. But I don't know. That'd be a hard thing for me to argue. I just think that like for me sensation is like probably the more important thing. Either it's like putting sensation on other people or like experience it myself. It's like a lot of like real like that can produce a lot of real intimate moments, I think. And I know this because I have definitely turned a lot of people who used to swear by not liking CTF, and I explain it to them in a different way, and all of a sudden they're all fucking over it. They all love it. But like I don't think that like has much to do with empowerment more than it does just like have to do with like I said, the sensation. Unless you want to talk about like the logistics of like having someone be your dick. I mean, I guess there is like a power thing in that, but like that one I don't like think too much about. It's really just like who do you trust enough to like allow you to be in that position, I guess.
It's definitely something that I think can be completely overlooked when we're going to be talking about that stuff, because when you look at the scenarios that people might be making up, or just the art that people are making of people turning into other people's dicks and stuff, it's just like, you're my dick now. Yeah. And it kind of stops there.
I think that's fine for like the most part.
It
Like
can
like
be.
I kind of look at that like the way that like that is such like a top thing to say for like somebody. I don't know.
Okay.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's like, oh, like that's like a fucking top phrase or something like that.
Well, the only reason I bring that up has to do with the thought that you mentioned. Who do you trust enough for that? And it would be cool to see a bit more of that come into play with the kink in general. Who do you trust to, like, merge into you, to be a part of you, to be the beast that you want to lie with. It's a pretty cool theme, especially if the theme maybe is the monster could come out at any moment or be pulled out by something. It's interesting in that way. And I just think that the very thought of it could use some more examination. People talk about, like, oh, do you think of, like, the post-TF stuff a lot? What about the post-TF? It's like, okay, but intermittently, what about these aspects here? The trust and, the power dynamics.
Ironically, I think a lot of that is already assumed. Like when we're talking about at least this in particular. At least in my experience, when people ask me to do CTF stuff, it's usually like two willing parties. Obviously, it has to be. Otherwise, like the other person would like come and be like, "Hey, like, why did you make this?" And
Yeah,
as that's not happened to me yet,
right,
thankfully.
right.
But for the most part, I think a lot of people just kind of assume that, and I also think that's part of like the problem that we were stating earlier is just like when something is done sexually, it's assumed to be like something that it's not, or something that it is, or something like whatever. But I think generally, I'm also not that good of a judge for this kind of thing because I don't know what goes on in other people's heads at any point in time. But I get the feeling that some people are good enough judges to know that like the people in the picture are generally consenting people unless it is stated otherwise, in which they will tell you. Believe me, they will not shut up about how unconsensual it is.
My, oh my.
They will not shut up. It's like they want to be fucking arrested or something like that.
God damn. Confession time. just keep a fucking eye out and you'll find somebody's confession.
Oh.
Or yes, you want to put these people away.
Well, that's all. Well, that's also. Well, that's mainly the thing. Is it's not so much. It doesn't have much to do with the fact that like there's like, I guess like not a focus of trust, because I think people assume the trust, and I guess in like a lot of instances the power is not so much like the focus, because like there's a much more important thing happening in which someone is like losing their limbs. Like it's going into their body.
I would beg to differ on this part, because I mean, what would be more of a power exchange or an empowerment thing than you literally surrendering the entirety of your body to someone else, and you are becoming an organ of pleasure? Like,
that is,
how does that not fit the theme?
Well, that is true. It just, for me, it's not something that I think is inherent in my mind. I think it. I mean, it's a part of it, but like, I don't think that's the empower. I don't like focus on empowerment like with that, at least.
Is there anything that makes you focus on that kind of aspect? Is there any type of TF work that you feel is like empowering for you in particular?
Not for me. I don't really feel like I get like that my kicks for empowerment from like TF work. I more or less get it from drawing Danielle, which I never do anymore. But that I think that I think a lot of I think a lot of wish fulfillment, like stuff like that, and like power fantasy, or like empowering, like in general, like I think for the most part like people do it, and and you can tell when it's like empowering or like really fun for them, and like I really dig that shit because it's honest. But for me personally, I can't really like find any way to like fit empowerment into like my kink at all.
I also find it kind of ironic because even if you're not drawing it, Danielle is a strong woman. That was how she was created.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, she's the only one, like, she's my OC. She's the only one who's like.
But wait, that's completely relevant to actually the question in the first place. The stuff about wanting to.
Aren't we talking about TF though?
We are, and you becoming that is the sheer idea of yourself becoming something that would make you feel empowered.
I generally don't. I generally separate Danielle from the TF stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
Those two worlds are pretty much separate, in my opinion. I think I kind of have my interests. I have very specific interests with TF, and I think I like to keep it that way.
Makes sense to me. And now I know. That's actually, that's really interesting. And I will talk to you about that another time. This has been wonderful. I'm very glad that you all came on to talk. I'd love to do this again sometime if, we got some ideas to get out to people. I love this shit. I still got to learn some stuff about all of you, and this is why I love doing it. And I'm also grateful that Zill has trusted me with recording all of us to talk about this stuff.
We love you, Pool Toy Jesus.
Thank you, Pool Toy Jesus.
Pool Toy Jesus.
That's, yes, very much. Pool Toy Jesus. When Zill is not heeing, it's Pool Toy Jesus. Don't worry, all of you can just. I hope you're all laughing at the absurdity of the statement because I'm not explaining the joke. But
that's an in-joke.
Anyway, but I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you very much for listening to us this week. Everybody, please tell us where you can be found.
You could find me on DeviantArt, and for Affinity, under TigerTwins. I don't have anything else in terms of social media, so that's pretty much it for me.
All right.
For me, it's HoneyBear for Affinity and HoneyBear Arts on Twitter.
Wait, doesn't your HoneyBear have a hyphen on FA? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, there's a hyphen on FA.
All right. Pez?
You can find me at 10204 at Washington Street in Langley, Virginia. It's the CIA headquarters.
Actually, you can find them in a fucking dark cave because they are a fucking creature.
At Pessimist Vivo, and Pessimist is my Fur Affinity username. That's with one S, because I misspelled it when I made the account.
Pessimist Vivo spelled VEVO. I want to let everybody else know that.
Oh yes, Pessimist spelled correctly, and then VEVO, like the old music YouTube videos.
Yeah, and you can find her stuff. There's some other links on her Twitter too. And
definitely.
So everybody else, regarding the podcast, a Patreon has been opened up. Please do check it out. Patreon.com/TFTuesday Pod. That's spelled pretty much the way you think it's spelled out. Patreon.com/TFTuesday Pod. Give it a look. See if you want to help this show out. And, of course, the more this show grows, the more we'll have to offer. And we'd love to offer more. And we don't have any audience questions. At least I don't. But if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask, you can either, leave a comment and, at the bottom, YouTube video, or you can, tweet at us. You can tweet questions at us with the hashtag TFTuesdayPod. And, we'll see about putting them on the show and making the most of that. But again, thank you very much for listening. I am K-Libra. It's Pessimist. It's HoneyBear. It is TigerTwins. They're all wonderful. And hope to see you all next week when I might not be on the show.
Good.
Anyway, it would probably be for the best. Anyway, see you all next time. Have a good one.
This episode is brought to you by Skillshare.
Okay, fine. Sponsor us. What a choppy ending. All right. Cut.
How do I stop this machine? Press stop.